and 313-868-0342. Remember, a community meeting with Detroit with your host, Brother Muhammad, every Sunday at 12 noon, right here on your community TV and radio station.
Brothers and sisters, are you tired of reading the Holy Scripture and really not understanding what you've read? And if you're reasonably sure, have you ever tested that what you feel you know that may have a different view than your own? Then let's talk to one another. Let's reason with one another on a scriptural discussion with the Son of Man. A live broadcast Wednesdays and Fridays at 9 p.m. So why don't you call in and let's discuss the Holy Bible, and if you have one, the Holy Quran, and come to an agreement about the Holy Scripture and their true meaning. So tune in to a scriptural discussion with the Son of Man every Wednesdays and Fridays at 9 p.m. right here on TV 33 and 88.1 FM WHPR. You can call in on the air or off the air at 868-0351, 868-0342, and 868-4336. Of course, the area code is 313. That's 868-0351, 868-4336, and 868-0342.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just. I greet all of you within the sound of my voice, with the greeting words of peace from the Lord of the world. Allah, Salam Alaikum. I want to go straight to our guest. We have with us Mr. Jack Kerwick, and I had, it's as I've told many of you, as we've talked publicly and privately, that you cannot learn anything if you are a seeker of truth. You cannot learn anything by only listening to people that may agree with what you have to say, and having discussions only with people that agree with you. You don't know the value or strength of what you have in the way of conviction until you talk to people of opposing views that you may want to adopt yourself. So, I always welcome people, whether it's religious or political, that have understanding of things that or access to knowledge that I may not be privy to or have access to. The one thing that makes me able to do that you will discover that make you able to do it too, is that truth is like water. It always mixes with other truth, and always, as water, always mixes with other water. And that is, it may take it a little time, but it will mix. So likewise, when we are seeking right, then we should not fear to have discussions with people. Mr. Kerwick is a graduate with a BA, a Bachelor of Arts. I think that's what BA is. A Bachelor of Arts in Religious Studies and Philosophy from Wingate University in Wingate, North Carolina, back in 1998. And he received his master's, MA degree in philosophy from Baylor University in Waco, Texas, the following year, which was in 1999. And in 2007, he earned his PhD in philosophy from Temple University. Mr. Kerwick specializes in ethics and political philosophy. His doctoral dissertation, entitled Toward a Conservative Liberalism, was a defense of the classical conservative tradition, a tradition of thought usually and widely perceived to have been fathered by Edmund Burke. Mr. Kerwick, or Dr. Kerwick, drew from Burke for inspiration, but also from David Hume, and perhaps most importantly, the 20th century British philosopher Michael Oakeshott. Dr. Kerwick has taught a variety of philosophy courses as an adjunct instructor for 9 years at a range of schools. He is now seeking a permanent residency as he continues his research into classical conservatism. Dr. Kerwick and his wife, Amy, live in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And I'm going to let Dr. Kerwick reintroduce himself. I know I would much rather introduce myself when I'm going to talk to people. And so I assume many people feel the way I do. And for no one can introduce you better than you. And that way, that does the way. I'm not a great fan of hearsay. I'd rather get it straight from the person that's being talked about. And so I want to say I'll give a brief synopsis, for lack of a better word, of how this forum is conducted after Dr. Kerwick introduces himself, and then he and I can dialogue about the pros and cons of the Affordable Health Care Act. So, Dr. Kerwick, are you there? You can unmute your phone by pressing *6. Dr. Kerwick? Did you give him the number, how he could reach? Okay. Let's give him a few minutes. A lot of times people don't.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Dr. Kerwick?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I hear you now.
Okay, great. No, that was a fine introduction. A couple of things have changed since that was originally written. A few years have gone by, so now my wife and I have a 3-year-old son, and of course I've been teaching a few extra years. But everything else in there sounds pretty spot on.
All right. I just want to make sure that you are, you're comfortable. I don't like to misrepresent anyone. That's a bad way to start off a first meeting.
No, everything sounded good, but I think that was written, in 2008, I believe it was. But no, but everything else is correct. So I'm pleased with the introduction, and I thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for accepting our invitation. Now, I want you to know that this is not an arena of bigoted people. The audience
appreciate
that we generally have, we teach that as you would like people to do to you, do that to them.
Yes.
And we want people to hear us when we have something to say.
Certainly. Now, is this connection sound okay with you? I mean, you say I can hear you, but it sounds a little muffled every now and again. I'm on a cell phone right now, so I didn't know.
Okay. Do you have a landline that you can call from?
I do have a landline. The only reason I took my cell phone out in the car is because my son we were putting him down to bed, and he was getting a little ornery, so I wanted to make sure I could hear you. So I took this outside.
Okay. I was just, I wanted to make sure that your battery's up and everything. I can hear you fine, but I don't want your battery to run out on us.
No, the battery's charged, so I think I should be okay for a little while. So why don't we just try doing what we're doing right now, and if I have a difficult time hearing you, then maybe I'll try to switch gears and go back inside and grab a landline.
Okay. The only thing that I ask of our guests is the same courtesy that I'm willing to give, and that is if I say something or make a point of something that you disagree with after I've made the point, then you should do me the way that any teacher, or like was done in the school that you attended, the colleges that you attended. The professor didn't try to keep talking when a hand went up.
Right.
Yeah, he stopped
right
and entertained your question or your even your argument. Because if you're really up to what you're saying, if I'm up to what I'm saying, I should not object to you questioning me about something I say that brought up a question. So
yes. Let me say, the only reason I even accepted the invitation is because the email in which you extended the invitation was worded in a very courteous way, and I listened to one of your past episodes, and I heard how respectful you were with the guest, even though the guest wasn't being very respectful in return. I wasn't going to come on your show if it was going to be screaming and yelling back and forth. I don't have time for that. I came on the show because you distinguished yourself, from my perspective, as someone who was willing to really be open-minded, and that's a rarity today. And so I immensely appreciated that, and I'm hoping just to reciprocate.
Amen, Dr. Kerwick. So
yeah, you can call me Jack.
Well, I like to give people their dues. You are a doctor of philosophy.
Well, the only person I make call me doctor is my wife.
All right.
Nah, I'm just kidding about that. But
I know.
You call me what you want.
That helps me relax too.
Okay. Good.
All right. Okay. It was I want to hear why you feel that it's a bad idea, the Affordable Health Care Act that was just passed. Well, not just passed, but it was just acknowledged by the Supreme Court to be within Congress's sphere of authority to do, which I really agreed that it was, because even a ticket is a tax when you properly understand tax. In a colored universe, most people think in black and white now, but tax has more than one connotation. There are types of taxes, even
right.
Even a what you call a ticket. A ticket that you get is a form of taxation. And most people don't realize when they go and pay a fine that the state they are actually paying a tax. But, But go ahead, Dr. Kerwick. I want to hear why you feel that it's a bad idea.
Well, let me just say this. I mean, as you now know, I'm a philosopher by trade. I'm not a politician. I'm not an economist. So, in other words, my thoughts on the Affordable Health Care Act, i.e. Obamacare, are not so much informed by all the different numbers I hear being thrown out there. I mean, regardless of who you talk to partisans on both sides of this issue, and you have people citing different statistics and how much it's going to cost and this and that. I don't dispute any of these numbers, but I just don't involve myself too much with any of those numbers because my objections are more philosophical. I'm opposed to Obamacare, to this Affordable Health Care Act, because it allows the federal government that much more power and authority over the lives of citizens. Now, the federal government's been monstrous for a long time, but this law in particular, in addition to being very unpopular, that is to say, in addition to being inconsistent with the prevailing sensibility in the country, also just consists of an historically unprecedented expansion of federal power. So that's bad for everybody. I mean, even if you could establish that everyone would be better off, materially speaking, under this law, as far as I'm concerned, given my understanding of liberty, that's neither here nor there. Ultimately, it undercuts liberty. The very liberties with which Americans have always been in love, the liberties for which people have fought and sacrificed and died, are diminished, are under. Whenever the federal government continues to assume unto itself these larger concentrations of power. Because you see, sir, I think that before any of us talk about liberty, and of course, you can't go a single day without hearing people in the media, making claims on behalf of liberty, whether, on this side of the issue, that side of an issue. But very few people actually stop to consider what exactly this liberty is that we all claim to prize. And I think that's a big part of the problem right there. Whether we're talking about Obamacare or whether we're talking about any number of other issues, I think we need to be clear as to what liberty is before we start making claims on its behalf, for or against any given thing. And so, I'm sorry, am I talking too much right now?
No, I do want to address, question
Sure.
you about certain things that you say, but I wanted to hear what you had to say, and it's not. No, you're not talking too much.
Okay, I don't want to monopolize any time here. So.
That subject of liberty,
yes.
and also the taxes. of the federal government imposing. How do you deem everyone having to, for instance, have car insurance who drive to be different? Do you think the federal government and state government or state government has the right to impose that?
Well, let me say, first of all, again, you're bringing up a very important distinction here. I want to make sure that it's recognized as a distinction between state government and federal government. Now, state governments require motorists to have car insurance within those states. Okay, so the state government under the Constitution have a lot more latitude than the federal government because we have a traditionally we have a federalized structure of government. The federal government was the offspring of the individual states. The only powers the federal government were allowed constitutionally speaking were those enumerated powers, specifically enumerated powers that the Constitution includes. What the state has an authority to do and what the federal government has the authority to do are two separate questions. But even with respect to the individual states, you're not required to purchase car insurance. You're required to purchase car insurance if you insist on driving. Now, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I understand it, there's nothing objectionable about that. But even then, there's still some dimension of choice. You can always choose not to drive. And while you're not driving, you're not required to carry car insurance. In this case, you have the...
all right. Let's address that issue. If we say don't have people having to have health insurance, at some point in time, the argument is that even if it's in your old age, at some point in time, you're going to have to visit the hospital. And if you're going to have to visit the hospital, the way things have been going, most hospitals don't collect most of the debts that are ran up when they wait on people in the hospital. And so, under the assumption that the same reasoning that people, if you're going to drive, you got to have insurance. If you're going to use a hospital, you got to have insurance. And it is safe to assume, even me, I'm in really good health. I mean, I got some insurance from State Farm, and they put me in the elite status after they checked I'm 61, and they put me in the elite. That's the highest. I could get insurance for real reasonable. They sold me about $500,000 worth of life insurance for $161 a month, and term,
Right.
And so, and they but even with me being in the state of good health now, if I had an accident out on the street or something like that, if something happened to me, I would have to go to the hospital. And currently, I don't have personal health insurance. But I look forward to being able to purchase some. And I was glad when they passed the Affordable Health Care Act, because, if it does the same thing that the car insurance did, I know car insurance went way down when everybody was forced to get it. And, I think it was a win-win situation. when you have children now, right?
I do. I have a son.
Okay. I'm pretty sure when you have children, you'll let them do things. But when they get in a situation where they can't get it together, you may holler in there, "Don't make me have to come in there."
That's right.
And I know that's where my daddy was, and that's where I did my children. I do my children like that. But sometimes I have to step in because they're not giving each other justice, and that's what I feel the purpose of government is. It's just like even in the Word of God, He says if a man wants to be a bishop, he want to be over God's house, let him first rule his own house well. But if you don't know the importance of keeping order and having some authority in your own personal house, how in the world are you going to run a nation when you don't understand the need for government and what the role of government is? The role of government, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, is to be the same among the states, among the people, as a referee is on a football field, on a basketball court, wherever you have competition. Sometimes people go out of bounds. They go overboard. And they have to know that if you do that, there's going to be a penalty to you. Because it's certainly play the game, certainly compete, but do it fairly. And that is the purpose of government. The insurance companies have been around all these years, and yet you have people. I was looking at this poor lady with her 3-year-old that every so often, about 35 times a day, the child stops breathing almost. And she has, her insurance was about to run out in a couple of years. And once it run out, then her baby had a death sentence until this Affordable Health Care Act. And, I'm religious too, so I believe that we should care about one another. We should, care that each other, even if I can take care of my family, I'm still responsible to God for how I treated other people's family. So go ahead.
So you made a few points, and there's one point in particular I really like to explore with you a bit. But the first point you made was, why can't if the government can require motorists who insist on driving to purchase car insurance, why can't the government just do the same thing and require hospital visitors to purchase health insurance? I think the government can, but again, it should be a state, a state government, not a federal government trying to require hospitals throughout the country to design these policies. So that would be my first response to your one point. Second point you made, though, is actually the last 2 points really jumped out at me more, and I think you're absolutely correct when you talk about the purpose of government. We need to. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. That's going on at the station. I think he's adjusting his microphone so he can, the viewers and the listeners. We on television and radio also.
Right. So you can hear me then, right?
Yes, sir.
I was saying. Okay. Yeah. So I was saying. So I think you're right about that these sorts of discussions, the kind of discussion we're having right now over Obamacare, over universal health care, the kinds of discussions we have every day over every conceivable political issue, all eventually turn on the question regarding the proper role, the purpose of government. So I think that that's key, that we definitely need to discuss what the purpose of government is, or at least what the purpose of government of a modern state, a modern country, should be. And then the third thing you talked about was religion, your religious commitments, and how they translate into your political commitments. And I'd be happy to talk about that too, because I myself am religious. I'm a Christian. I'm a Roman Catholic Christian. But let me come back to the role of government. You saw from reading my description that my sympathies lie with the classical conservative tradition. Now, I want to make sure that you and your listeners are very clear about this. I do indeed identify myself as a conservative, but the conservatism of which I'm an advocate is not what typically passes for conservatism today. I'm not a neoconservative. I'm not a Sean Hannity or Rush Limbaugh conservative. This is a very different sort of conservatism. It's an older, much older conservatism that really isn't very popular anymore, least of all among people who describe themselves today as conservatives. And traditionally, there have been roughly two ways in which a modern state has been conceived. There are some people who think that the state is an enterprise association. That's Michael Oakeshott's description. In an enterprise association, all the associates, all the members, are joined together for the sake of pursuing a purpose, and the government is in the vanguard of the march to realize this goal, this purpose. At different times, the purpose has been defined differently. Sometimes people think it's the job of the government to make all of its subjects virtuous. Others think it's the job of the government to make all of its citizens happy, or to provide them with pleasure, or to provide them with with an equal distribution of material goods. However it's been defined, all of these different ideas converge on the concept that the government should be leading the way. That's why you have people today, talking about politicians as being leaders. The idea here is that we're all should be marching in lockstep as these politicians clear, the path and, usher in a promised land of some sort. There's another vision of the state, though, and this is a vision that conservatives, in the sense in which I'm talking about conservatism, have traditionally affirmed. Governments or the state's not an enterprise association; it's a civil association. Again, these are the terms that Michael Oakeshott used to describe these two historically competing understandings of the state and of government. In a civil association, the government exists for the sake of being like an umpire. This is what you said a couple minutes ago, or like a referee. The government exists for the sake of imposing rules, but the rules don't tell citizens what to do. They just tell them how they have to do whatever it is they do. So, for example, one rule might be, not that you can't kill, because sometimes killing can be justified, but that if you ever kill, you can't kill murderously, because murder is against the law. So I find myself more sympathetic to this idea of government as an umpire, as a referee. It's not there to lead us to some promised land. It's not there to promote prosperity or material equality or virtue or happiness or pleasure or piety. Government exists simply so that the same rules will be observed by all citizens, and that citizens should then be free to pursue their own purposes, their own goals, and government's there just to minimize collisions between citizens. So
well, you and I agree on that. I definitely agree on that. I will. That's one of the things that I was thinking over there. I don't forgot which document that it. I don't know if it was the Bill of Rights, but one of the founding fathers, or some of the founding fathers, I don't know which one said these words, but they still ring true, that we are endowed by the Creator, by our Creator. All men are endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, which are life, the right to life, the right to liberty, and the right to pursue happiness. And that right to life is something that I cannot say on the one hand that I agree that people have a right to life. If that's a basic right, then people have a basic right to good health. They have a basic right to feel that whatever services that the Congress and the President, who are supposed to be the servants of the people, not the leaders of the people, the servants of the people. The only thing they lead in is that the only thing they should be leading in is observance of duty to uphold the rules that everybody call Constitution, the Bill of Rights. They should lead in upholding that. And the part of the way to produce patriotism is to. I mean, what is patriotism? It is a patriot. One patriot is worth 500 mercenaries, because a mercenary is like that man in the Bible, as Jesus said. When the hireling see the wolf coming, he fleeth. Because he said, it ain't no amount of money worth me putting my life on the line, and I see I'm about to die here, I got to go. But the patriot, he's like that, which one of them was it? He said, the only regret I have is that I don't have but one life to give for my country.
Right. I know.
Now, that was the patriot.
Yeah.
I mean, if he found something that was worth dying for, and when he said his country, he wasn't talking about the land only. He was talking about his fellow man, his fellow American. Yeah. And that kind of patriotism you get not by turning a deaf ear and a blind eye to the pain and suffering of your neighbor. You get that kind of patriotism that, like what just happened the people in America, they have very charitable hearts. You see what just happened in Colorado?
No, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Well, all them homes burnt down, and they talking about all of the people who are sending money now. Ain't nobody forced sending money to help put their neighbors back on good footing.
Well, you're right.
So we are a nation. We are a nation sometimes that we send money. This country sends billions of dollars to Israel. This country have loaned Greece $1.3 trillion just recently, knowing that it wasn't going to get it back. But if we can do that, if the tax money from the children and ourselves, well, all of us pay taxes. Everybody pays taxes. Just that everybody don't pay income tax because everybody ain't got no income. But when you spend money, you paying taxes. So that tax revenue, some of it, in order to make sure that your citizens, a wise government wants its citizens to all be patriotic. And in order to cultivate patriotism, a wise government says to its citizens, I care about you. I care about you not standing up in a like some entertainer stand up in front of a crowd and holler, I love you, and then you try to get his phone number, you find out the truth. But the government needs to always inspire patriotism by not being overbearing to its citizens, but always saying, like a good father, a good mother, all right, you got plenty and your little brother got nothing, and you're going to sit there and why don't you share something? Share some of that with him. A good government wants their citizens to love one another, and the government should lead the way. If Congress got a good health care plan that's being paid for by the taxpayers, then Ted Kennedy was right. He said that we should fix it where all Americans, this country shouldn't have no person hungry. This country should have no person sleeping out on the street. This country should have no person that's sickly and whose life cannot be enriched and live life to its fullest, because we've all agreed that everyone has a right to life. We fight about that right now with the abortion clinics and stuff, saying that an unborn child has a right to life. Well, what is the point of him having the right to life, and then he get here and you could care less whether he gets sick and get health care or not?
Well, let me.
That doesn't make.
If you don't mind. If I can.
Go ahead. It's your turn.
Okay. You've said a lot, so I'm just going to try to do the best I can to get it all together. It's the Declaration of Independence, right, that says that we're endowed by our Creator with these unalienable rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Declaration of Independence is it's one of our founding documents, yes, but it's not law. I mean, if you look at the Constitution is law. You nowhere within the Constitution see that sort of phraseology, and there's a reason for that. The rights in the Declaration, the rights that Jefferson listed, they're very abstract. They're very universal. They can be interpreted to mean anything, and so that's why they can't be law. In fact, there's a lot of controversy within philosophy over the very doctrine of natural rights. I mean, there are some people, quite a few people actually, who reject it. I mean, you read the Bible, and you read I'm sure you read the Quran, right? Nowhere.
I read both of them.
Yes, I'm sure. And nowhere within the Bible or the Quran is there any language at all about natural rights or human rights. In fact, there wasn't a single language that had a word that's the equivalent of right until modern times. Thomas Aquinas, St. Thomas Aquinas, who one of the greatest philosophers of all time, definitely the greatest medieval philosopher. He talked a lot about natural law, but there was no talk on Aquinas' part of natural rights. So I mean, that's just sort of an aside. It's something you could if you ever are interested can pursue further. But the big problem with rights, with this idea of natural rights or human rights as opposed to civil rights, the problem with natural rights is that, again, they're so abstract. They can be enlisted in the service of supporting virtually any cause. So that's just one point I'd like to make. Second point I'd like to make, you've said this a few times here, that we have a duty to care for one another, absolutely. And nothing that I've said should make you think that I don't agree with you wholeheartedly about that. Like I said, I am a Christian. I'm a practicing Christian. I've devoted my time, my money to helping people, but these are choices that I've made. See, but the debate here isn't over whether we should help one another. The debate here is over whether the government should coerce us to help one another. And again, and it's a big question as to whether we actually even are helping one another, given what the government expects. Third point I'd like to make is you talked, a couple of times about patriotism. Absolutely, I think patriotism is indeed a virtue, but the patriot isn't committed to his government first and foremost. As you yourself just said, the patriot is committed to his country. Now that includes, familiar areas, his home and whatnot, his local community. But it includes first and foremost people. He's committed to preserving his country, understood as a certain historical project, a set of traditions, practices. So, but it's not government's job to, and use the analogy of a government as a parent. I think that's the wrong way to look at the relationship between government and citizen, because as men, you and I are self-governing. We're not going to have anyone in Washington or elsewhere talk to us as if we're children. We are men who prize liberty, and we're going to make our own choices, do our own things, decide who we're going to help, when we're going to help, how we can help them. That's how I see it. So I want you to know, I think generally speaking, in principle, you and I agree on quite a few things, but I think that when we get to more specifics, that's where we're sort of, at a crossroads maybe.
Well, the thing that I was really saying is not so much as the government. I kind of alluded to that because the scriptures allude to the parent. A person. What is a nation other than groups of families? And so when you understand, if a man is a good father and a good husband and understands what his responsibility is to his individual family, then it's more likely that he will, like he puts his family first. I don't know of any father or husband that will stand by and watch his family attacked and won't go out there and lay his life down trying to defend them. And that is what I meant. It's just like George Washington is called the father of this country for many reasons, not for just one reason.
Right.
But many people don't understand that George Washington, if you study up on his history, he even took care of some of the expense of the war out of his own pocket. Took care of this.
Well, yeah, he
and
had
whatnot.
to at that time.
I mean, he took on the role of what a father is supposed to do. I mean, and I didn't mean that in the sense of some president or any president walking on our manhood.
Right.
Right. That's not what I said that means.
Okay.
But the he is supposed to be to this country as a father is to his family. And if he don't feel that way, if you don't first love you can't just love the people who voted for you. The Constitution, like you said, in the Bill of Rights, it talks about that right to life. In the Constitution, the preamble, it says, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union between ourselves, establish justice, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare. Now, if the purpose of the Constitution is to promote the general welfare of the people, then it is telling you that there is some place, there has to be some type of law that governs health care for people. And the Congress, like many people think that the president didn't make the law, the Congress made the law. The president asked for the law. The Congress made the law and made it something that those of us, and let's face it, many of the middle-class people already were buying insurance. They already had health care. Mm-hmm. That law of forcing you to buy insurance is mostly affecting people like me, people down on the bottom that for the most part I pay my bills, but when I go to the hospital I have to pay it out of my pocket for my family and stuff. And there are many poor people who just don't pay nothing. And he's saying, and he's right to say it, you know, if you can afford health care, since you're using the system, other people shouldn't have to do you a free ride. Now, if you can pay, you're going to have to start paying. And I agree, because it makes you feel more like a man when you're paying your way. Don't no man that's got any kind of inkling of manhood want some other man to carry him. And so I agree that health care should be mandatory for us all, for the public good. For it don't make no difference how many jobs you create if your workforce is unhealthy. I mean, part of fixing the productivity of this country is to fix the health of people, so that people don't spend so much time. We need to do some preventative things. They're talking about that health care bill makes checkups not costly, that you can get checkups and they can do preventative medicine on you instead of always waiting until you done fell low sick to try to fix you up. Because old people used to say all the time, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I agree. So, but like you when you go to that preamble, it tells you what the basis. It don't mean that. Now I read up on that about. That didn't mean that Congress is supposed to legislate stuff to get you all of them things that preamble is talking about. It's saying that the way the Constitution, the reason that the Constitution is established, is so that if it is upheld and carried into practice, that all of those things, the general welfare of the people and all of that that will be the benefit from what the Constitution was designed for. That will be the result if you uphold the Constitution. And there again, like I said, I mean, the government can't make you a patriot, but they can help create an atmosphere that will nurture patriotism. And the national health care is, you walk up there and you see your government and the people care about you. Well, naturally, some people ain't going to do right. I don't care how much you show them you love them or care about them. But for the most part, people are just in their heart. If you care about me, like a child, you see children playing. He'll let one play with his toy, and he say, "Let me play with yours now." He's expecting. He's saying, "Well, I let you play with mine. Why don't you let me play with yours then?" Well, that is even in children. They have a sense of justice and right and wrong.
Well, sir,
I mean, what
I
I look like, not caring about people that's showing me that they care about me. No, I can't. I think that's the right step to take. And if it don't work out, then I say fix it. But it is a good step to take. But if it has a bad result after it has been fully implemented, then at least now you got something that you can say, well, it ain't doing this and it ain't doing that, and we need to fix this and we need to fix that. And that's the way I think that all of us should look at anything that is new. It's bound to have some things that's going to need fixing in it. But at least we started.
If I can just say a few words, because I'm going to have to.
You can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I mute my phone every time you start talking so that it don't be choppy. Go ahead.
It don't be what?
I mute my phone every time you start talking so that it don't be choppy on this speaker here. So I'm about to mute my phone so you can go on and talk.
Okay. Well, like I said, I could only be a couple more minutes. So let me I just want to say just a couple of final things here. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to keep coming back to this, but I do think it's important, the kind of images we use to envision the government. And, you've used, and I know you've tried to clarify what you said, but you've used the analogy, the parent-child analogy, several times when speaking of the government's relationship to the citizen. Again, I just don't think that's the best terms in which to describe that relationship. I prefer to stick with the image of an umpire. So I would say the government should not love citizens as a father loves a child. I mean, that's paternalism right there. The government, just as an umpire, isn't there to love the players who he's refereeing. Similarly, elected politicians should not be in love with their constituents. They have a duty to uphold the laws, period. And to make things, definitely to make things easier, to make things better, but to uphold the laws. So that's just the first point that I really have to insist upon there. And secondly, so you said something else that I really wanted to get at there. You said how the middle class are already paying insurance. See, it again. I mean, this isn't charity. The religion, religion instructs us to be charitable. Hell, like I said, I'm a Christian, and as a Christian, I believe I have an obligation to God to be charitable to my fellow human beings, and I try to fulfill that obligation. But that's something between me and my God. That's a choice that I make. I'm not having money taken out of my pocket before I see it and given to people or given to causes or to countries when I choose to give to my fellow human beings. I have no choice in that matter when the government takes. I think there's something inherently moral about government getting a hold of your money before you've even seen your money. I mean, we used to have a word for that. It was, yes, sir.
Remember, this money is the government is not taking any money out of our pocket. The government is simply saying that you got to buy insurance. That money's not going to the government. That's going to insurance companies.
No, but not just no. The IRS is going to be involved in this. If it's a tax, the tax doesn't go to an insurance company. The tax goes to the government. Government collects taxes, private citizens don't.
Well, actually, the penalty that will be charged will come in the form of they really haven't said how it's going to come, but it's not going to be something that they haven't even figured out how they're going to enforce it yet. But it's not something that the people who are already buying health care have to even worry about. Again, I say that the only people who have to worry about that is people like me, who don't have insurance, who is going to be penalized if I don't buy some insurance. That's not something that the people who already are buying insurance are having to worry about. That's on those of us who are unfortunate enough to not have the ability to purchase insurance. Now we're going to have to purchase some insurance if we can afford it. And the government even says that if you can't afford it, that they will help you, not pay for it for you, but help you pay for it.
Well, in helping,
so I have no problem with that. And like I said, I think people should not get sick and then go to the hospital and expect to be served without having to take some responsibility for payment. I mean, that's just not, that don't make sense to me. If I ride in your car, Doc, and I don't care if you rich, and I ride in your car with you because I'm trying to go, I don't care if you going where I was going. Then if I got some money in my pocket and you pull in to get some gas, I shouldn't sit there on my money. That car don't run on love and it don't run on friendship. It run off of gas. Then if I have it, I should help put the gas in the car. And if we have it, we should help make sure that the doctors and the nurses and the hospitals that are all set up, those people can eat, and that place can stay open, can keep its doors open. And the way to do that, I think, is a national health care, affordable health care for everybody. And if people don't do it on their own, then the government should step in.
Well, look, the government doesn't have the government. I mean, again, and I was really hoping to sort of avoid some of this because it's just I was hoping to talk just about the bigger issues that I was trying to address before, like liberty and the purpose of government. But as long as you're bringing this up, I'll just say the government doesn't have one red penny to give anyone for any reason. The money government has is the money it takes from one citizen to give to another citizen. This is how governments work. And so this is going to require massive redistribution. And regardless of how noble sounding the goal may be, stop and think about this. I mean, if the rationale for universal health care is that everyone needs to be doing their fair share or something along those lines, then don't you think that we can minimize health care costs if everyone exercised regularly or ate only certain foods, vegetables and fruits, and maybe, white meats rather than, pork or stuff like that? Maybe the government then should step in and require all citizens to purchase memberships to fitness clubs, to gyms.
No, if you did that, then you are actually taking away the person's freedom. I mean,
that's exactly what people are complaining about here about Obamacare. That's not what I get out of. That's not what I get out of the Affordable Health Care Act. What I get out of that is simply this. I mean, if you don't think government should have anything to do with health care, then
the way that we need to do it is put the Congress off of it too. I mean, they should not be on health care that's paid for out of our tax money. The president
I agree.
The president shouldn't either. But as long as they have it, it's kind of hypocritical on their part to say that the government should not be providing health care for its citizens when it's providing health care for them.
Well, the thing with politicians that's as I understand it, that's just, I guess that's compensation for going into public office or something. But okay, I mean, I can even concede your point. I concede your point. All right, I mean, if that's fine. I mean, I don't think either that we should be, forced to cover their health care costs. I can acknowledge that.
Which brings me to another point. I mean, if America's citizens' taxes can be sent out of the country, and believe me, I don't have no dog in the hunt against Israel, but America's taxes, some of the tax money that we pay, billions of it every year is spent to aid Israel.
Right.
Okay. Why is it's okay to send the tax money to be spent on people outside of America, but it's not okay to spend the tax money for the health of the people who you got the money from?
Okay, let me respond. I'm not in favor of foreign aid, whether it's given to Israel or whether it's given to any other country. I'm not in favor of the American government confiscating the resources, the hard-earned resources of its citizens, to give to foreign governments, and that's exactly what foreign aid consists of. It's government-to-government transfers. So I'm with you if you're in favor of stripping foreign aid away from Israel as well as away from every other country, because I object to it in principle. I don't object to it because it's this country or that country. I think there is something inherently wrong with the government, the United States of America, the federal government requiring its citizens to work harder and longer so that they can subsidize foreign governments, whether it's Israel or any other government. Similarly, I think it's inherently immoral for the federal government to confiscate the resources of its citizens to support other citizens. I think people should support one another, but I think we do this, and you yourself pointed this out earlier on your show. Americans are very charitable. No one's compelling Americans right now to help those in Colorado who have lost their homes by these fires. People are doing this of their own volition because it's what people want to do. It's what we in the Christian world, the American world, have tended to do. Charity's always been a cardinal virtue. So I think that's how. And so I think government. Okay, and I'll grant your point about this. Government should do what it can to make people's lives easier, to inspire greater love and concern for others. But the government should do this by backing off, by allowing people more of their resources rather than taking them away. Let people, you know best in your community who needs help. Well, then you and your followers or your fellow congregants, you guys can get together and pull your resources together and help those who you know are in need. That's how I think charity works best.
That's the point. How long has this? Like many people. I'm not talking about you now, but it's many people who act as if they have been living in a bubble, as though this is the first time that the debate over national health care has come up. Many presidents, all the way back to Roosevelt, further, tried to establish a national health care for the citizens of this country. And how long has it been fought and left up to people to do the right thing, to be neighborly and to look out for each other? And nobody seems to want to do it, which brings us back to the referee again. You know,
yeah, referees don't make people.
The government, now, when you don't see your citizens exercising the proper care for one another, when you don't see your citizens acting as though they see the problem and are ready to rectify it, and it's time for the government to step in and say, hey, don't y'all see that?
No, you can't do
what
that.
What we going to do about this? I mean, you got 30 million people. According to the statistics they've been throwing out there, 30 million people don't have no health care. 150 million, 125 million people, according to them, got pre-existing conditions that they can't get insurance because of they was already in bad shape and don't nobody want to give them insurance. Well, what are we supposed to do about these people? Until someone comes up with a better plan, then I say let's go with the Affordable Health Care Act.
Not enough.
I
can't
mean,
look at it that way.
The same Congress that instituted that, if it's not necessary, if it's not working, if it don't work, they can always uninstitute it.
No.
So we don't have to be at each other over it. We never tried it.
All right, sir. Let me just add. Can I say something here?
Yes, sir.
You're right that that there have been other attempts in the past to impose universal health care, so-called universal health care. Those attempts have failed. They fail for the same reason that this one almost failed, because the majority of people remain opposed to it. But what do you think people are opposed to? They're not opposed to helping others. No one wants to see people get shut out of emergency rooms or die in the streets. You know that. Everyone knows that. No one wants to see that. What people oppose, what people fear, what people dread is this encroachment upon their liberty. No one wants to be told by the federal government what it has to do when it comes to something as personal as medical insurance. See, and it's not health care. See, that's another thing too. That's a euphemism. It's not either universal health care or no health care. The question is whether the federal government should now have the authority to compel each and every citizen to purchase health insurance. And a lot of us say the government should have that authority, should not have that power, that we should be able to purchase this or not purchase it on our own and then suffer the consequences accordingly. That's what liberty is all about.
I bet you already have health care insurance.
I do, through my wife right now, because as you yourself read, I'm an adjunct instructor still holding out for that permanent position somewhere. Until I have that,
but my point is that health care, that Affordable Health Care Act, doesn't affect you. Because you have already stepped up to the plate and did, out of love for your family, what you did.
All of us are affected by it.
I think that once more people purchase health care insurance, now that it has been mandated that everyone that can must do it, then the price, even the prices that you paying, gonna go down. Just like the price on automobile insurance have went down. I mean, I can afford automobile insurance. I mean, and I have it too.
All right, but the thing you're not that I haven't impressed upon you here is that we're all affected by this. Not not necessarily insofar as how much it's going to cost. I mean, critics say it's going to raise costs exponentially, okay? I have reason to believe what they say, but frankly, I think that's ultimately irrelevant to the bigger question. And the bigger question is the question of liberty, the question of self-governance. See, I mean, even if we could diminish healthcare costs to a negligible level by requiring everyone to purchase memberships to gyms or to eat certain foods, even if it could be determined that everyone would pay in the long run so much less in medical insurance if the government stepped in and required citizens to take these measures, I would still oppose that. And I would oppose it because I'm not focused on the consequence of cost. I'm focused on liberty. And so that's ultimately why I oppose this and why I oppose most of the things that require an expansion of government. Let me, if you wouldn't mind, I'd just like to, because my wife got kind of sick tonight, so I'm going to kind of get off here in just a minute with you. But if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to just say, oh shoot, sorry, I just lost my train of thought here. Oh.
While you were thinking over that, I want you to remember that until there is an old saying, until we are all free, none of us are free.
That's
and when
right.
you I don't mistake the term liberty and the term inordinance for being the same thing. I mean, there's no such thing as a civilized society that members don't have to abide by certain rules and laws.
That's correct.
That's what protects liberty.
That's correct. That's what liberty
and so many people, they just don't want nobody telling them what to do. That's not freedom. That's inordinancy.
No.
That is called inordinancy. I don't mind being told what to do as long as what I'm being told is a reasonable thing. I'm a reasonable person.
Right,
I don't think it's unreasonable for me to be told, look, if you can afford health care, you're going to have to purchase it to make sure that when you use it, the doctors can be paid. I mean, if I don't never use it, at least it's nice to know that it's there.
But you got to know this, though, too. Would you count as reasonable? You can't just go on what you think is reasonable, or what a certain or what people of like mind of yourself think is reasonable. You have to also think of the long-term consequences of this. Today, I mean, in the generation of the founders, it would have been unthinkable a federal government with the kind of scope that it has today. No state would have ratified this Constitution if it was interpreted along the lines that the Supreme Court majority interpreted last week. Not one single state. So what counts as reasonable is going to vary from one generation, one group to the next. Some people could say it's reasonable for the federal government to require all citizens to get married. Because married people tend to live longer than single married, or it's reasonable for the federal government to determine all of us to start exercising at least 3-4 days a week. Maybe we can have federal officers coming in front of our homes, making sure we're out on our front lawns doing push-ups and sit-ups and chin-ups and pull-ups, staying healthy. I mean, people can. I mean, you do not have grounds on which to object to that, given what the Supreme Court has now declared is constitutional vis-a-vis Obamacare.
No, that's taken out of context. That's taken out of context what that law, the Affordable Health Care Act, actually does. The Affordable Health Care Act hasn't really been an imposition on anyone that has insurance. That's not imposing anything on you. What it's actually doing, if anyone should be championing the cry against it, if there is a cry against it, it should be me and the rest of us poor people.
Yeah,
if there's some objection to it, because people who already have health care insurance, they're already buying health care insurance. So there is no tax on them or whatever. The only one that is going to put any kind of burden on is those of us who've been breezing through, as a lot of people call it, freeloading or whatever, I mean, and you should not. We should not be able to freeload. We should not be able to keep our money in our pocket while your health care premium keep on going up. And for any of those who try to say that the cost of health care will increase exponentially, that's as false as the
Well, hang on a second,
and the reason I say that now is because when everybody was forced to get automobile insurance, the cost didn't increase; it decreased.
Okay. Look,
I mean, we never did this before, so we can't say what's going to happen. We can say what we think is going to happen.
No, but you're misunderstanding.
Because we never tried this before.
All right,
so since we never tried it before,
all right. Okay.
Since we never tried it before,
right.
When 2014 roll around
and
it kicks in completely, then let's have this conversation again.
No, it's okay. Look, I won't even get into that, but I gotta say this. Maybe if you're not someone who's accustomed to doing, to working out 3 days a week, or if you're not someone who's accustomed to eating vegetables and fruits and proteins and this and that, then you'll feel like you're put upon by the federal government if it demands of you that you start exercising 3 days a week or that you start changing your diet. Some people may, tend to gym regularly, may eat, may be health nuts. So, but the reason why we would still find it unreasonable, to use your words, the reason why we would still oppose with every fiber of our being any measure on the part of government to require citizens to start exercising and eating differently is because we recognize that it would be a severe encroachment upon our liberty. And that's my objection against Obamacare or universal health care.
The government not telling you what to eat.
Say, don't do that, brother. Don't do that. If you can't listen to this conversation, then I suggest you get out of the room. And if he unmute his phone again like that and blurt out something, you just put him out the room. Don't disrespect my guest.
I appreciate it, but I didn't even hear. I didn't hear who said what.
You didn't need to hear him.
Oh, okay.
Anytime someone just cut into a conversation, hear you talking or cut in or whatever, and then just start bowling over you because maybe you saying something that they don't like or whatever. That does not excuse disrespect.
Right. Well, I appreciate you.
No, I don't condone it.
Being a good host.
And you go on and finish what you were saying.
Well, that's basically all I was saying was that some people will seek to justify this health care law on the basis of what it will supposedly do in the future. Other people will oppose it on the basis of what it's supposedly going to do in the future. That is to say, most people on both sides, from what I've heard, argue for or against it in terms of what they perceive to be the material benefits or costs. I'm looking at it differently. My principal objection against this is that it undercuts our liberties. And so I oppose this for the same reason that I would oppose a law which gave the government the authority to require us to join gyms, or to exercise 3 days a week, or to, change our diets.
Well, I'd be with you on that one. I mean,
you'd be with it because right now it sounds unreasonable.
I don't think nobody should be trying to tell me when I should be exercising or nothing else. But
right.
But when it comes to health care, remember, there's a lot of people who wanted to buy insurance and wouldn't nobody tell them now.
Mhm. Right.
That's one of the reasons.
Sir, I'm sorry. I really got to take off. My wife was feeling sick before, but I wanted to come on and talk with you. I told your guest, your caller Jamar earlier today, that I wouldn't be able to stay on the whole 2 hours tonight, or whatever it is, 2.5 hours.
Well, Dr. Kerwick, I want you to come back. I want you to come back again, and we can. We don't have to just discuss this. We can have conversations in the future about many things. I want to talk about the race issue too with you.
Yeah,
I love.
I like to write about too.
I like to talk with. We ain't never gonna solve no problems if we won't talk to each other.
Well, I appreciate your hospitality and your open-mindedness, and it's been a pleasure.
Well, I have enjoyed it too, and believe me, it has been an enlightening experience for me. And for
me as well.
I want you to come back at any time. I'm gonna have Brother Jamar to give you a call from time to time, and if you are free, I would like us to get in more discussions.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. And may Allah continue to bless you and your family and keep you safe.
Thank you very much, sir. Same to you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Brother and sister, I want y'all to always remember, when you have people visit you, if you invite someone to your home, you make sure that everybody in your household respect them. And you see them safely to the street or whatnot, back to their car. They got there in safety. You make sure they leave that way. That's called being civilized. Now, I love my people, and the way I show I love my people, I try my best to never leave a bad taste in the mouth of someone who may not be one of my people, so that they don't say, them so-and-sos don't know how to... Now what that means is that now my people ain't safe when it comes go visit you. Because I know lots of people in this world, they say, you kill my dog, I'm going to kill your cat. And so I don't never want people to feel justified to say hateful things about me or to think hateful things about me. You can't stop people from doing that, but you can stop it from being justified. You understand? You don't have to be in love with people to treat them like you want to be treated. So, brother, you who blurted out while me and my guest was talking, you know better. Don't do that. Don't do things like that. That's not the way. I want y'all to be better men than that. You can listen to a person disagree with you, and you will many times find things that even a person who disagrees with you may agree with you on. And that's the basis for starting a dialogue. We know what we disagree on. Now, let's talk about some things that we agree on, too. I mean, the next thing you know, you might can change the person's mind about, the thing that you think is reasonable that they think is not reasonable. You know? So, I don't never. You notice he said he had been to our site and heard some dialogue between me and other people. And he felt that he would be respected when he came in here. And anybody who ever come talk with me, you going to find that I'm respectful to you. You know, I'm not up here to try to make enemies. But friendship, that's true friendship, can't be based on a lie. You see, I wanted to get into the race issue, but tonight wasn't going to allow it. But a lot of the reasons I wanted to ask him about what Michael Moore shared with us. That when President Obama became president, the Republicans, the head Republicans had a meeting and had decided that they would make him the invisible president. Whatever he tried to come up with, they would fight against. I don't know how I know. Well, the Spanish mayor, you know, California, I think it's L.A., elected a Spanish mayor. And he got with the Congress to come up with an infrastructure bill, $100 million, that they set up at least from what I heard now, the president has to sign it, but it's a bipartisan thing. And I think one of the reasons that it was done was because, you know, Spanish people are humble people, but don't mistake humility for stupidity. They're a long way from being stupid. I remember when the messenger told us that we had to, that any brother who could not sell 100 pounds of fish a day didn't have no business on the fish crew. We was going in the black community trying to sell our fish. And, man, we was lucky if we could sell 40 pounds all day long. And we take a 10-pound slab of fish, show it to our people, and say, I can't eat all that fish. So, well, you can put it in your refrigerator. No, I ain't putting that. And so they might buy a 5-pound box, and that was it. So but when the messenger said that, we went over in the East L.A. and Redlands, and where Spanish Americans were, and that's why I learned to speak a little Spanish. They taught me. I knock on their door, and they said, no speaking English. And I would show them the fish, and they said, oh, pescado. And I said, that's what it is, pescado? He said, yes. And he said, mucho esplines. And esplines means bones, a lot of bones. And I said, no. Uno esplines. Right up the center. Now, I went into the house. I asked, could I come in? They let me in the house. And I filleted some of it for them. And showed them how to boil it. And I made a quick salad, a fish salad out of it. And she said, how much? I forgot to. And I say, 40 libras. That's 40 pounds for $26. And she said, it's mucho. I said, yeah, but you can fix it so many ways. She said, okay, bring it on. Brought the whole case. And they were some of the kind-hearted people that I had ever ran into. I mean, it made me really see how sick my people have been made due to slavery. I mean, you know, we went through their communities, and we just started selling out. We take 400 pounds out and sell it off. You know, I just started carrying cases on my shoulder and to the door to show them what it was. And they said, it was mucho. And I said, "Una cleaners, and go in there and cook up some right quick." She said, "Put it in the freezer." You know, and they were so welcoming, kind people. I'm not saying that they don't have some people that's kind of hateful or whatnot, but for the most part, Spanish American people are beautiful people, and I found that from personal experience with them. That's why I told that brother when he from there in Texas that he set up a meeting, I'll come, sure will, because they've always, I've had nothing but good experiences dealing with them. You know, our people are different. Even in the Caucasian communities that I used to sell vacuum cleaners and stuff in, when we went out there, they were very hospitable and whatnot when we came in to their communities. You start to see that we are unique people. We are sick. It's not that we just are hateful. It's that we are people who have been mistreated and misused. And it you know, that William Lynch thing was just the tip of the iceberg to what's wrong with us. You know, and so I understand. I'm not saying nobody's better than you. I'm saying that I understand. It's no way that all these people who are so kind came out of us if we didn't have that in us. So we got that in us. We just hurting right now. So next time somebody tell you that you ain't about nothing, just tell them that be patient with me. God ain't through with me yet. Okay? All right. Just like brother, I fussed at him, but I understood where he was coming from. But bro, you got to contain yourself. You know, you control yourself. You know, we gonna get it together. It's just like when you talk about descendants. You know, the black man ain't descended from nobody. You know, there's no such thing as higher forms of life coming from lower forms of life. That just don't happen. You can't descend unless you're coming from something higher than yourself. So, you know, I like the term evolve, but even that, lower forms of life, when you really understand, don't mean what you think it means. Just like the life germ that produces man, that's us in our lower form. So we evolved from that little sperm into this being here. But we was always that being. That's just us in our lowest form. Do you understand? So in that sense, the theory of evolution is true. But in the other sense about higher forms of life evolving from something other than itself, that's a lie. That just ain't the truth. Do you understand? All right. It's like Mom Mabley used the term from Like an acorn grows into a what? A oak tree? Okay. Well, but it was an oak tree even when it was an acorn. It was just an acorn, and it was just an oak tree in its lower form. Do you understand? Just like these babies. You was a baby boy, baby girl, and you evolved into what you are now. Do you understand? Now, that's all that means. If you try to take it for anything else, you've been deceived. Do you understand? Do you believe that lead evolves into gold? Do you believe that? Well, then whatever something is, it was that all of the time. It didn't come from something else and became that. It was that. Do you understand? Okay. Time for you to wake up. So that's what I'm here for, to wake you up. And I'm going to start keeping this to 2 hours because I got to. And so I'm going to, now, if any of you think that, I don't care how much you want to get said. It's only so much you can get said when you're talking to someone else. A lot of times people want to be heard but don't want to hear nobody. You can't do that if you really want to reach any kind of consensus with people. You got to be willing to hear them as much as you want them to hear you. Do you understand? So, I want you to help me to change the way the world looks at us. President Obama is doing as much as humanly possible, considering who he is and where he originates from. And I don't want him to be the exception. I want him to be the rule for how black men conduct themselves. And don't be so touchy. Lighten up, man. Loosen up. Anytime what you believe in can't stand disagreement without falling apart, well, you need to change your belief. Do you understand? If you base your belief, if you build your mind up, that's what Jesus meant when he said, upon this rock I will build my church. He wasn't talking about Peter. He was talking about the truth that he was speaking. You notice, when you look at a volcano erupting, it erupts in a liquid form. But that's called rock, molten rock. And once it cools off, it gets solid. Well, likewise, when you build your mind up on a rock, on the truth, then the winds can blow, emotional winds can blow, and everything can come against it, and it ain't going to fall. Do you understand? Okay. So, when I hear someone say something that makes sense, I'm quick to agree. Man starts talking about he don't want the government telling him when to exercise. I'm with him on that. Don't tell me I got to get up and go exercise. I don't want to exercise. I won't. So that's not, an encroachment on freedom, no national health care. It just makes good sense to me. What? You want everybody to be willing to go fight and die for the country if it comes to that? Well, show the people that they got something to fight for. A country that cares about its citizens. Huh? You know. Now, if it don't work out, why not wait until you see the result of it before you start talking about what ain't no good? Huh? The idea itself is good. The idea itself already works for many countries like England, France, Canada, and other places. National health care works for them. So don't tell me that it's just a far-fetched idea. It's not no far-fetched idea. I think many people don't support it because the president is black. So, you know, I mean, that's just something that I done seen in this country. It's just like look at all of the businesses now that moved out of Detroit because the mayor and the city council is black people. So the tax base moved, you know. And, you know, I mean, I've been watching these things. I know how it goes. You're going to have to grow up one day, though. You're going to have to grow up and stop expecting more from people than you're willing to give. You know, you don't seem to have no problem keeping the base there when you in charge. Now, if you say that you don't think that black people are qualified, then they went through your school system, then what are you saying about your own school system? You taught them. So I'm going to leave you thinking over these things, you see. Now, I'm not telling you that I'm trying to take over. I don't want to take over America. I want my own country, and I'm going to have it. And, you know, that's in the workings now. If y'all help me, I'm talking about everybody who listens. You help me, it will go well with you. If you fight me, you will catch hell. And that's just the way that is. You know, I mean, Allah is with me. If Allah wasn't with me, you'd be able to produce an argument that I couldn't deal with. You ain't got no argument I can't deal with. That's because Allah is with me. Now, if He wasn't with me, you'd be able to deal with me like you deal with everybody else that you teach. Listen. But you didn't teach me. So I got another teacher. He's right here with me now telling me what to say. So it's like the poor little fella the other night trying to tell me he was Michael. If I didn't know who Michael was, he might could have put that over on me. But they told you, the very name itself means who is like God. Well, the messengers told you that we would be like Him. Well, there you go. All of the holy angels, that's my Michael. And they fight the devil for me. They just say, Satan, the Lord rebukes you. So, I'm here, and I use their words to rebuke Satan. You see? Do you understand? All right, as long as you understand. So my old leg getting tired, standing up here, I'm moving from one foot to the other, and so I'm going to. Do anybody got? I think I have time for one more question. One question, if somebody got a question. I told you I would not ever give you cause to be ashamed of me being the one who represents you. You see, people respect me. You know. You know how you get people to respect you? Respect them. I'm teaching you how to get respect from people. And stop just being quiet, waiting on your turn to speak. If you're quiet, listen to what the other person's saying. Do you understand? He didn't leave out of here thinking that he had came into the wrong arena. He took something with him. I intended for him to take something with him. And I intend for you to take something with you from listening to me, talking with him. So, I want to say we got someone Sunday. We got two people coming Sunday. The brother. Well, we got maybe one of the Olympic contestants who, when them three brothers took first, second, and third, back in '68, I think it was, and they stood up there and threw the power sign up like that, and the Olympic Committee went crazy. So we got one of them coming in here. And, so I look forward to having a conversation with him. I want you to get out of your, if you want to know what you should do, you look at the time in your history when you were most united and most caring about each other. You will discover that was when the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was going through your communities, and Muhammad's temple was there teaching you that you should be black and proud of it, and that you should love one another and unite with your own people. And that's when the crime rate in the black community, Chicago, you wouldn't hear about no bunch of murders and stuff in Chicago when the Muslims was here. So you join with the Muslims and stop waiting on the Muslims to join with you. We can't join up with you because you going the wrong way. You see the respect we get? All right, then. Join on to us, and respect and honor will join on to you. So I'm going to put a pin in it, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow at prayer service. And until then, may Allah continue to bless us all, and keep us safe and in our right mind. And I'll meet you back in the conference room tomorrow for prayer service at 1 p.m. Central Time, at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And you do the math on the rest. Okay. Allah, Assalamu alaikum.